This conference will now be recorded.
Hello students, I'm Dr. Divya from TeenEinstein. So now we are in the fifth part of chapter number 6, tissues. So the main topics of this chapter which we are learning, all living organisms are made up of cells or tissues. So these tissues, we have already learned about cells, right? So when we are coming to the concept of multicellular organism, they are made up of tissues. So these plants and animals, they are made up of tissues, and these tissues, whether they are of same types or they are of different types. In animals and plants, you can see same type of tissues or different types of tissues. That's the question. So we know that they are entirely different. Like plants have their own structure, and although they are both are living, coming under living, but structurally they are different, and their working working mode or their mode of life, that is different, entirely different mode they are having. So here plants will be having different types of tissue based upon their function, and animals have different type of tissues that is also based on the work or mode of functioning, isn't it? So far we have learned about what is tissue. Tissue means group of cells, and these cells have similar structure, then they have similar function, so they are working in a same way. So tissues means they are a group of cells which are similar in structure and function. Then next we have learned like plant tissues. We know that plant tissues, they are of two types, which are they meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. Meristematic tissue, and second type is permanent tissues. So this two types of tissues you can see in plants, meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. And this in this the meristematic tissue, there you can see this is the tissues. In this tissues, meristematic tissue, the cells are in the dividing stage. Okay, so these are the dividing tissues. Dividing tissues, or this tissue consists of dividing cells, and this is present in the growing regions of plants, where you can see growing regions. There you can see this tissues. And permanent tissue. Permanent tissue, we know that this meristematic tissues are in a continuous stage of division. So after dividing, what is happening to that meristematic tissues? This meristematic tissues, after some stage, that will form the permanent tissue. That's what we are saying. Permanent tissues are derived from meristematic tissue. Permanent tissues are from, that is derived from meristematic tissue. Okay. So once they are losing the ability to divide, it is forming a permanent tissue. After some time, this meristematic tissue will lose the ability of division. They will lose the ability to divide. Those tissues will get converted into permanent tissues. And these permanent tissue, that is classified into two, which are the simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. Simple and complex. Okay, simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. Simple permanent tissue, here three types you can see. First one is parenchyma, second one is collenchyma, and third one is sclerenchyma. Okay, these are the three types of simple permanent tissues. And complex permanent tissues also of two types, xylem and phloem. Xylem and phloem. These are the examples for complex permanent tissues. So up to this, these are the main things which we have learned about plant tissues, right? Next, animal tissues. So animal tissues are also of different types, and you know that animal tissues in the previous part we have discussed about animal tissues. So animal tissues, they can be epithelial tissues. Second one is connective tissue. Next is muscular tissues. And another type is nervous tissues. Okay, so animal tissues are also of different types. Which one is that? Epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue, and nervous tissue. Okay, so these are different types of animal tissues. Which are they? Epithelial tissues, connective tissues, muscular tissue, and nervous tissue. And about epithelial tissue, we have already discussed. So depending upon the shape, see here you can see different types of epithelial tissue. So based on shape, then based on function, okay, so based on shape and function, this epithelial tissue that is classified into squamous epithelium, stratified squamous epithelium, columnar epithelium, and cuboidal epithelium. So these are the different types of epithelial tissues you can see. Squamous, stratified squamous, columnar, cuboidal. Then we have learned another two types like ciliated and granular. Ciliated, ciliated epithelial tissue, then glandular, glandular epithelial tissues. So these are the different types of epithelial tissues. It is based on the shape and function. This classification is done. Next, up to this we have discussed in the previous parts, right? So next we are moving to connective tissue. Okay. So in this part we are going to learn about connective tissue. So for connective tissue, we know blood. We said examples for connective tissue, blood. Blood is example for connective tissue, right? See why we are calling blood as the connective tissue, or why we have included blood in that connective tissue, because see we know that blood is reaching each and every cell in the body, right? Because it's going to each and every cell, right? So nutrient absorption that is taking place and gaseous exchange, everything is through blood, right? So blood is providing nutrients, it is collecting waste from the cells, and it is helping for gaseous exchange. So it is reaching everywhere, it is connecting all the parts of the body, right? That's why it is called as connective tissue. Now let's learn in detail like connective tissue. Actually, the cells in a connective tissue, blood is an example. In a connective tissue, the cells are loosely packed, or they have like a little more space. It will be there, and they are embedded in a matrix, like cellular intercellular matrix. Cells are loosely packed, okay, and they have arranged with lots of intercellular space. Okay, cells are loosely packed, or they are loosely arranged, and intercellular space, there is so much space between cells. Intercellular space is more, and these cells, they are embedded in a intercellular matrix. Okay, these cells are embedded in intercellular matrix. Okay, so they are embedded in intercellular matrix. See, cells will be embedded in intercellular matrix, so they are loosely packed. And this matrix, the matrix which is present, just think about blood. In that blood, whichever you are saying, that is the matrix, and in that matrix, cells are there, blood cells are there, embedded in that matrix, right? And in between cells, they are not a thick substance, like it's very loose one, right? So the cells will be having lot of intercellular space, so cells are very loosely packed. And this matrix in which the cells are embedded, they are like a fluid. There'll be sometimes jelly type, jelly like, or we can say that fluid, that may be dense or rigid, right? So the nature of matrix, how it is decided, that is depending upon the function of that particular connective tissue. Okay, so nature of matrix depends upon function of that connective tissue. Okay, so we can say blood as a best example. Blood is a connective tissue, and the cells in that cells are very loosely packed. Just think about blood, one blood drop you are taking, in that you can see that's like a loose fluid. So cells are present in that fluid, so that blood cells are embedded in a matrix, and that sometimes it may be jelly type or fluid, that may be dense or rigid. And that nature of that matrix, that is depending upon the function of that connective tissue. Okay, so these cells, the blood cells, the bloods are embedded in that matrix. Okay, so the cells of that connective tissue, that is embedded in the matrix, and they are very loosely packed. There are lot of intercellular space in between cells. Blood cells are not thickly arranged, right? It's loosely packed. So there is a space, intercellular space, that is so much. Lots of intercellular space is present in between cells, and those cells are arranged in the matrix. That matrix may be fluid type, it may be dense or rigid, or it may be jelly type. So nature of that matrix, that is decided based upon the function of that particular connective tissue. Which type of function it is doing, based on that, nature of that matrix will be decided. Clear? See here, one activity in your textbook, one activity is there. This is just to take a drop of blood on a slide, on a glass slide. Just take a drop of blood and observe different cells which are present in that blood drop under a microscope. Okay, you're just taking one drop of blood on a glass. That glass slide you need to take, and you should clean it very neatly. Then put just one drop of blood on that glass slide. Then observe it under microscope. So what you can see, you can observe different types of blood cells which is present in that. Okay, so let's learn blood. In that, different types of blood cells are present. Blood cells are present in which one? In blood. Okay, so different types of blood cells are present, and these blood cells are in a matrix, right? So blood cells are there, then these cells are embedded in the matrix, or it is having a fluid or liquid matrix. Fluid matrix is present, right? So that matrix is called as plasma. That matrix is called as plasma. So where these blood cells are embedded, they are embedded in the plasma. So there, which and all cells you can see in this plasma, red blood corpuscles. Red blood red blood corpuscles, RBC. Okay, then white blood corpuscles. White blood corpuscles, WBC. White blood corpuscles, WBC. Then platelets. Platelets. These type of different types of cells you can see, RBC, WBC and platelets. Each cell is having specific function. Okay, so all these type of cells, RBC, WBC, platelets, all are suspended in that fluid or liquid matrix which is called as plasma. Okay, and this plasma, which is the matrix, that consists of some proteins, salts, then hormones, proteins, hormones, then some salts. All these are present in the plasma. Then what is the function of blood? We said the nature of this matrix that is decided based on the function. So blood is involved, or that blood flow that is helping for transport of gases. Then that is transport of digested food. That means the nutrients. Then it is helping for the transport of hormones. Then waste material collection, transport of waste materials in all the parts of the body, right? So all these are the functions of blood. So the matrix should be in a fluid type, or it should be in a movable form, right? That's why blood plasma, or the matrix of blood, which is called as plasma, in a loose form. Okay, that is in a fluid form. Okay, so it is connecting almost all the parts of the body. So blood, which is coming under connective tissue, it is called as a connective tissue. And in blood, you can say blood cells are there, and there is a matrix also. These blood cells are present in the different types of cells you can see in blood. Okay, so which are the different types of cells? RBC, red blood corpuscles, white blood corpuscles, and platelets. So all these different types of cells, they are embedded in a matrix. That matrix, it is a fluid or liquid matrix that is called as plasma, blood plasma. That is a matrix of blood. Okay, so in that matrix, all these RBC, WBC, platelets and all embedded, right? And this plasma consists of hormones will be present in that plasma, proteins will be present, and salts are present, okay, in that plasma. Then what are all the different functions of blood? Blood mainly that transports gases, then all the digested food, like all the nutrients it is transporting, right? Then hormones are transported through blood. Then waste materials are collected from different parts of body, that is also through blood, right? So all these functions are done by blood. So blood should be in a fluid form so that it can reach everywhere and it can transport all these gas, food, hormones, everything, right? That's why that's why we said based on the function of that connective tissue, that matrix nature is getting decided. Okay, here blood is having these many functions. Okay, so when it is a movable form or if it is in a rigid form, is it possible to transport all these things? No. So if it is in a movable or a fluid form, all these things are possible. That's why the nature of matrix or the nature of plasma, which is a matrix, is a fluid or liquid type. Clear? Then another, and here in this figure, different white blood corpuscles you can see: neutrophil, basophil, eosinophil, lymphocyte, monocyte, then platelets. You can see all this. The next, here you can see bone. Bone, that is another type of or another example of connective tissue. Bone, that is another example for connective tissue. So blood we have already learned. Next is bone. So we know that bone is forming the structural framework of body, right? Bone forms structural framework of body. Just imagine the body without bone. It won't be having any particular structure, right? Just without bone, skin will be there, all other fluid, blood will be there inside, and all other organs will be there, but it won't be having any shape, right? On the bone, everything, the skin is present on that bone, and all the muscles are arranged in a supportive way. The bonds are working, right? That's why it is having a shape. Without bone, if you are moving, it will be like a jelly like substance. If you are taking it, it will go as such, right? With if a cloth you're keeping on a hanger, you can see in a specific shape. If you're removing hanger, how it will be? It will fall down like without any shape. Any shape it can be, right? There won't be having any specific structure. So like that, our body is having a structural, or it is having a shape because of this bone. On bone, all this work has done, right? On bone, the skin, then the flesh part, everything is arranged. That's why it is having a shape. So bone is an example for connective tissue, and that forms the structural framework of body, right? Here bone, what it is doing, that supports main organs of body, and that anchors muscles, and that supports the main organs of the body. And here, one very important point, this is strong and non-flexible tissue. Okay, bone, that is strong, it's a strong tissue, bone, and it is non-flexible. Okay, it's not flexible, right? It's a hard substance. And bone cells are embedded in a hard matrix. Okay, here this doesn't work for transport, or it is not for such purposes like blood. So the matrix here, this connective tissue matrix nature, that is hard. Matrix is hard. So bone cells, here bone cells are embedded in hard matrix, and that is composed of calcium and phosphorus compounds. Calcium plus phosphorus compounds. Okay, so what and all? Bone is another example for this connective tissue, and that is forming the structural framework of body, that anchors muscles, then supports organs of body, then that is non-flexible, that is very strong. We know that, just general points you can write. It's non-flexible, it's very strong tissue. And bone cells, bone cells, they are embedded in a matrix, and this matrix is in a very hard form. It is formed of calcium and phosphorus compounds. Okay, then some more points which we need to learn is two bonds. Two bonds can be connected to each other by another type of connective tissue. Two bonds can be connected to each other by another type of connective tissue. So that is called as ligament. That connective tissue is called as ligament. See, bonds are very strong, and those bonds are connected to each other by, there is another type of connective tissue which is connecting these hard bonds, that is called as ligament. Okay, and this ligament, we need to write that ligament is elastic one. Bonds are not flexible, but ligament is elastic. Uh, Even though it is elastic, it is having strength. It is having considerable, not so strong, but it is having considerable strength. Then ligament, here we need to say this is having little matrix, very little matrix. Which one? Ligament, that is having very little matrix, and that connects two bonds, like bond with another bond. Okay, that connects bonds with each other. Then tendons. See, this is the structure of compact bone. Here you can see. Here bonds are strong, we said. But here when we are coming to the ligaments, it is elastic, slightly flexible. Then strength means it is having considerable strength. But the matrix, it is having very little matrix. The tendons that connect muscle to bones. Tendons, they are another type of connective tissue. These are also another type of connective tissue. Okay, tendons and ligaments, these are also type of connective tissue, but these are also coming under bones, but slight ones, not so hard. Tendons and ligaments. Okay, these are also type of connective tissue. So this tissue, ligament, that is elastic one. Okay, not so hard like bone. These are elastic one, and even though it is elastic, it is having considerable strength. Okay, and next is ligament. This ligament is having matrix, very little matrix, and what ligament will do, that will connect bone with another bone. Bone with another bone. That means bone to bone connection it is giving. What about tendons? This is also a type of connective tissue. This connects muscle to bone connection. It is given by tendons, muscle to bone connection. Okay, this is also another type of connective tissue. Which one? Tendons and ligaments, these are connective tissues, but ligaments are slightly elastic. Tendons are giving more muscle to bone connection. But tendons have limited flexibility. Okay, tendons having limited flexibility, and that is giving muscle to bone connection. Tendons. Okay, they are fibrous tissues. Fibrous tissues, but they have strength. They are of great strength. They are having great strength. Okay, and they have limited flexibility. They are not much flexible. They are limited. They have limited flexibility, but ligaments have. They are elastic. They are having considerable strength, and their matrix, they have very little matrix. They are giving connection one bond to another bond. Okay, but in the case of tendon, which is also another type of connective tissue, here limited flexibility is provided, and that is giving muscle to bone connection. And they are of fibrous tissue. They have great strength. Okay, another type, you can see here, cartilage. Another type of connective tissue. So here you can see blood, then bone, cartilage. This is also another type of connective tissue, cartilage. This one, here you can see cartilage. And here you can see the cells are widely spacious. Cells are widely spaced. Which one? In cartilage. And here matrix of this, generally what we need to write while writing about the cells, we need to mention while writing about connective tissue which type of cells are there and whether intercellular space is present in between cells or not. Then what about the matrix, how it is a fluid form or a hard form, or the nature of the matrix you need to mention. So first we said connective tissue. Cartilage is a connective tissue and here cells are widely spaced. Next about the matrix we need to tell matrix, that is solid matrix. Matrix is solid matrix. Okay. And this matrix is composed of sugars and proteins. Sugars and proteins. Okay. And here, where it is present, what it is doing, this cartilage, that bone surfaces are smoothened by this cartilage. Cartilage smoothens bone surfaces. Bone surfaces where, uh, where at the joints. At the joints. Okay. And where it is present in the nose, ear, trachea, larynx. It is present in trachea, larynx, nose, ear and all, it is present. Okay. See, just touch your ears and feel that we can fold the cartilage of ears. Right? We can fold the cartilage of our ears, but what about arms? We cannot fold the arms, bonds of that arms. Okay. So just think how these two tissues are different, bones and cartilage. What is the difference? See, cartilage is, that is, making the bone surface smooth at joints, right? So cartilage is present here, ears, nose and all. So that ear we can fold. See, we won't get any pain while folding. Up to a limit we won't get a pain, right? So that is flexible there. So where and all it is present, nose, ear, trachea and larynx, we can fold the cartilage of ears. But at the same time, arm bone which is present in our arm, that we cannot bend, right? So from there we'll get the difference. Next is about areolar connective tissue. Here you can see connective tissue, areolar connective tissue. So this areolar connective tissue, that is found between skin and muscle. That is found between skin and muscle. Then you can see around blood vessels. Then nerves, Then in the bone marrow, there and all, you can see areolar connective tissues. Okay, and that is filling the space inside the organ that supports the internal organ. Which one? Areolar connective tissue. Then that is filling the space inside the organ. Okay, and this areolar connective tissue, you know that is helping in repairing of tissues. See, these points and all you need to learn as such. These are the minimum points which you need to learn for your exam. Okay, so here the same thing you need to learn. Areolar connective tissue means that is found between skin and muscle, and then around bone vessels, blood vessels, nerves, and in bone marrow you can see. And these areolar connective tissues, they are supporting internal organs. Then they are present in the space inside organ and for helping in repairing of tissues. You can see this areolar connective tissue. Okay, next is adipose tissue. Here you can see adipocyte, this last diagram, adipose tissue. Okay, actually these are fat storing tissues. Adipose tissues are fat storing tissues. So where you can see this fat storing tissue, that is found below the skin, below the skin and between internal organs. Below the skin and between internal organs. So how the cells will be? Here you can see the cells. About the cells we need to tell, right? These are the fat storing tissues. It is present below the skin and between internal organs. Then what about the cells of this connective tissue? The cells of this tissue that is filled with fat globules. Filled with fat globules. Okay, here you can see fat droplets. Okay, fat globules. So due to the fat storage, that is helping them to act as insulator. Okay, that fat storage is helping them to act as insulator. Clear? So today we have learned about connective tissue. So connective tissue means, here you can see different types of connective tissues like blood cells, then bone cells, cartilage, areolar tissue, adipose tissue. All these are the connective tissue, right? In blood you can see a fluid or liquid matrix. Bone means it's a, that is also a connective tissue, but here the matrix is hard substance, right? A hard matrix you can see. Then two bonds are connected together by ligament. Then tendons means that connects the muscle to bones. Then cartilage, that is another type of connective tissue. And here the matrix, cartilage matrix is composed of proteins and sugars. Then areolar connective tissue, that is found in between skin and muscle. Then adipose tissue, which is the fat storing tissue. Okay, so these many points you can learn about which one? Connective tissue. So different types of connective tissues in our body, that includes areolar tissues, adipose tissues, bone, tendon, ligament, cartilage, and blood. Okay, so which are the adipose tissues which is present in our body? Different types of connective tissues. Types of connective tissues which is present in our body, that is areolar tissues, second type is adipose tissue, fat storing tissue. Bone, tendon, ligament, cartilage, and the most important one, that is blood. Okay, so these are the different types of connective tissue: areolar tissue, adipose tissue, bone, tendon, ligament, cartilage, and blood. So here, while explaining about, first you need to tell about the nature of cell. The important points you need to write. Cell, nature of cell. Okay, then matrix, nature of matrix. Then composition of that matrix. Then the work or the function or how it works. These are the main things which you need to remember while writing. And if you are very clear about the diagram, you can give the diagram also. And one thing, while writing, you should mention the arrangement of cells. Okay, how the nature and the arrangement of cells, it's tightly arranged or compactly arranged or it is very loose, that you need to mention while writing. Okay, so areolar tissue, adipose tissue, bone, tendon, ligament, cartilage, blood, all these are examples, all these are different types of connective tissue. Clear? So that's all about this class. In the next part, we will be learning about muscular tissue and nervous tissue. Okay, thank you.